before I play or like while I'm playing, like this thing will happen and I don't know what's going on and it's so scary. And that's because we don't really talk about those things, like ever.
Yeah.
And then they come up and it's like, I can't talk about this to anybody, but like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's really freaky. So to have someone come in and talk through that and recognize like, hey, this is actually a normal reaction, right? When our mind perceives a threat, it sucks. It really sucks, and it does not feel great at all. But it's okay. It's your body's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Life Play podcast. I hope you all enjoyed the first with Jacey, Hinton. If you missed it, the link will be down below. Today we have another special guest for you all, someone who I consider a mentor already and who has taught me so much about the psychology field. She is not only a psychologist, but a businesswoman. Her name is Nicole Erikson, aka the Mind Coach. Welcome, Nicole. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So I just want you to introduce yourself to the audience. Let them know who you are and why you're here today.
Yeah, definitely. So my background, so I grew up as an athlete. I was a basketball player. That's what I wanted to do. I'm excited to tell you more about my story later on. I ended up going to Florida State University, and I earned my bachelor's in psychology from there. And I went to Georgia Southern University, where I earned my master's in sports psychology. And after that, once I graduated, that's when I started my own business. About a year later, I earned my certification in certified mental performance consultant. So it's been an awesome few years, and I've really enjoyed working with all the athletes that I've been working with. So.
Now that's really cool.
Yeah.
So what got you into being a mental performance consultant in the first place? Was it your love for sports?
So like I said earlier, I grew up as a basketball player. I actually started out playing a lot of different sports. I couldn't figure out what I liked. My dad, he would put me in a bunch of different stuff: golf, gymnastics, dance, water skiing, wakeboarding, taekwondo. Yeah, I was trying everything. And once I got to middle school, that's really the time where you could try out for a bunch of different stuff. So each season I said, I'm going to try out for a sport. I'm going to figure out what I like. And winter came around. I tried out for basketball. I became an alternate for the team. I was one of 3 alternates. And I had no idea what I was doing. It was the first time I had ever touched a basketball. And so I became an alternate. And of course, like, it kind of stinks, but I still sort of made it. So my parents were like, you just got to keep going. I'm like, I'm going to keep going. And I was the only alternate to continue to go to practice and play and learn. And so when the first game came around, the coach actually added me to the team. Yeah. So
saw your work ethic.
Yes. So that was a really cool moment for me. And that's really when basketball became, something that I really wanted to do. And it was my passion. It was my calling. And so I did everything I could to set myself up for my dream, which was to go play in college and play professionally. Well, high school came around, and again, I was very specialized in the sport, and I tore 2 ACLs in high school. Devastating. And that's when I really made the decision, because one was going into my senior year. So I had no idea. I was like, I could stay, I could recover, I could go play somewhere, try to get picked up, or I could just go play for fun, go get an education. And so I decided I'm just going to go. It's my second one. I'm going to just go somewhere and play for fun when I can. That's what I did. And when I got to Florida State, I found sports psychology. I was very fortunate to have found that. And I fell in love immediately. It was my new calling.
So did you hear about it while you were in your undergrad program, in the psychology program?
So that's actually a very good question. So originally I was going into Florida State, and I was going to do physical therapy.
Okay.
I was going to major in exercise science. I was all about it because I had come back from 2 ACL injuries. I was like, I want to help athletes recover and rehab. And so I took a nutrition class, and I was like, not for me. This is way too hard. So I decided I really liked my gen psych class, and I was like, I'm going to switch my major to general psychology. And my dad, he majored in gen psych or psychology in his undergrad degree, but he had a plan to go be an optometrist, so he was also taking classes on the side to get prereqs. So my parents were like, you kind of got to figure out what you want to do within psychology so that you can start setting yourself up for afterward.
That specific area.
Yes. Yeah. So I was like, okay. And so my older sister was actually there, and she had a friend that was a psych major. And she's like, why don't you talk to my friend? And I was like, okay. So I reached out, and her friend was like, take this careers in psychology class. It's a 1-credit class. I took it my junior year, but I wish I had taken it earlier. And I was like, I mean, it's 1 credit. Like, it's going to be really easy. Why not? And so the class was, they brought in professionals that majored in, or earned their bachelor's in psychology. And they had, so the FSU has a sports psychology department, and they actually had someone come in from that department and speak. And that's how I found out about it.
They're one of the best programs out there, too.
Yeah. So it's a good one. It's a good one. So when he came in and spoke, the professor at the time, I was like, I was mind blown. I was like, this is out there? This is a thing? We can do this? Like, I can do this? And so I immediately was like, that's it. That's what I'm doing. So I just started researching. I figured out that FSU had offered some undergraduate classes within sports psychology, so I took all of those. I worked with the FSU sports psychology department as a directed independent study, so I helped the graduate students with their research, and so I did everything I could to get into grad school, but that's really how I found out about sports psychology.
That's nice.
Yeah.
See, when I found out about sports psychology too, I had the same reaction. It's like, wow, this is a thing.
Yeah. Right.
Because I always had an interest in psychology and just figuring out why people do the things that they do, why they act the way that they act. It always drove me crazy. So I wanted to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And then when I saw that I could take psychology and then plus take my love for that and my love for sports and combine them. Yeah. It's like, wow. And then at the end of the day, you're helping people too. So it's so gratifying and fulfilling.
Definitely.
Yeah. It was mind blowing for sure.
Yeah. It's awesome. So yeah, and like you said, right, you combine the love for sport, which my family, we were always grown up in sports, like we were a sport family. And then love for helping people and helping them to find what they love to do, or not love to do, but connecting them back to that. Because a lot of times you hear from people and it's like, I'm just not motivated anymore. I don't know what's going on. I know I still want it. I just can't figure this out. And so to help them find that is very gratifying. It's really awesome. So, yeah.
So I want you to go in more detail about what a mental performance consultant is, because some people out there they don't know what it is. Like you said, when we learned about sports psychology, we were like, wow. Yeah. So when people learn about what a mental performance consultant is, they're gonna be even more mind blown.
Yes.
So I want you to describe that to the people out there.
Definitely. So this is actually a really great question because a lot of times people get confused. So a mental performance consultant is someone who usually has their master's in sports psychology, PhD in sports psychology, but even then I'm pretty sure they can call themselves a sports psychologist because they have their PhD. But, and they can solely work with athletes on performance-based needs with the mental side. So motivation, confidence, focus, processing thoughts as you play, before you play, after you play, processing emotions before, during, after, how to manage those, performance anxiety, things of that nature. So anything performance related. And that can even tie back to, school, right? Like how can you focus better in class? Like let's work on controlling focus when you're on the court, but also when you're doing schoolwork, right? So what's really cool about the mental performance consulting side of things is a lot of the skills that we teach and the things that we go through, they're transferable skills. They can be applied to other things in youth athletes' life, amateur, pros' life, all of it.
I always say that all of things can be translated into anything in life, business.
Yes.
Literally just anything in life in general. That's why I love it so much, especially like the performance part of it, where you can help a bowler bowl like
Yes.
better without all those thoughts and those doubts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And those are the things that really are like, wow, with being a mental performance consultant or even just a sports psychologist, you have the knowledge to help people in so many areas of their life.
Yes.
And I love it.
Yes, it's awesome. Relationships, right? And if you think about it, we're performing every day in everything that we do, right? We're, doing a project for school. We're hanging out with our friends. Like we're cooking. Right? We're always performing. We're always there in that moment. So yeah, transferable skills. But so mental performance consulting is very toward the performance needs on the mental side. You go to a licensed counselor, licensed psychologist, licensed psychiatrist, sports psychologist. That is someone that can help you with and go further with the mental side. So if you're having some mental issues, mental health needs, right? That's someone that you'd go to, and they'd help you dive deeper into those things and help you with that. And so that is so important as well, right? And I like to tell, like, whether it's a mental performance coach or a licensed counselor, and you are an athlete still, like, both of those are so important. So important, because it's like working out your body.
Exactly.
It's
like going to the dentist.
Yes, yes. Like, we do so many things to keep ourselves healthy, bodies healthy, and we're so open to doing that. But at the end of the day, it's mind and body.
Exactly.
Right? And so, really, it's just to help overall being, right? And continuing to perform at the way that we want to, continue to find that fulfillment in life. Yeah.
And then another thing that I always think about is, a lot of people think that sports psychology is you just sitting down, talking to a clinical therapist, stuff like that.
Okay.
But no, it's you maybe making a mental checklist of the things that may get you out of your zone in the game with maybe like someone in the crowd. Like, you can have those mental cues for yourself when you see yourself getting off track, and know that you are getting off track in the games or performances or practices and stuff like that.
Right, right. And I like that point too, because, like you said, it's not, we're just going to sit down and talk about all your feelings. Like, okay, let's do it. Like, sit down on my couch, lay down, It's like, no, we don't do that. It's actually really cool once I get athletes to come into the office and we start going through things, and they start to learn more and start to recognize things more, and they're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Then they start to enjoy it.
Yes, yes, and they see the benefit of it. Because, like you said, it's not just we sit down and, again, go deep into feelings and thoughts, and sometimes that does happen, but it's more so like, hey, how can we learn skills, like skills that you do in the sport in order to play, for you to play better, right? And these skills can be, obviously, you can't see them, right? It's not like kicking a ball or shooting a ball or dribbling, whatever, but it is things that you can use and get better at to then play better, right? Like, how often are we thinking about what coach is thinking at when we're playing? How often are we worried about playing time or making lineup, right? Or, like you said, someone in the stands that's really bothering us. And so being able to weed those things out and process through the thoughts or the worries that you're having or the emotions that you're feeling, having better relationship with your teammates and your coaches, that's so important. That's so important. And how often do you do that? Right? How often are you working on that? So, yeah.
See, you mentioned like players can be thinking about what their coaches are thinking, or what their teammates or people in the stands, stuff like that. Like, that was my problem. Like, I thought a lot about, wow, like, if I shoot this shot, if I make this play, what is my coach going to say? So that really messed me up, right? And I didn't have those mental techniques in place, so I just didn't know what to do. That's why I really want to like show people the importance of people like you and I on your performance, because it can make all the difference, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And to, I resonate with that too, because yes, I tore 2 ACLs in high school, but I was also very hard on myself. So it wasn't more so like worrying about what the coach thinks, but more so like, I can't believe that you just made that mistake, right? And I was so hard on myself and would be so down that I'd miss like 3 plays, right? Basketball's fast.
Yeah.
And I'd be there and be moving on defense, or I'd be bringing the ball up, but my mind is still thinking about the mistake I made 3 plays ago.
Yeah.
And therefore I'm distracted, and I'm not going to execute to the best of my ability because I'm not focused on the play at hand, whether that be on defense or offense.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to do that. It's so easy. Like, so many people come to me, and it is, worrying about what others think, or being so hard on themselves to the point where it's hard for them to focus on what's going on now.
Exactly. At that point, you're just pretty much dissociating.
Yes. Yeah. So it's easy to do. That's our mind. At the end of the day, this is like part of my approach with athletes. We as humans, our brain has a purpose. Our brain, as we've evolved, it has a reason why it does these things. And at the end of the day, it's a problem solver, and it's trying to protect us.
Exactly.
And so when it's distracting us because we're worried about what had happened, or we're worried about others, that's just us wanting to belong, right? And if we go way back, caveman days, like, that's how we survived, is being a part of a group. And that is so important to us. And so those things that come up for us is so normal. It's so normal that it's so easy to quickly judge the fact that, why am I thinking about this right now? Like, stop. But I shouldn't be thinking about this. But no, that's okay. It's okay that you're thinking that way. Like, that's the way that our mind works, and a lot of people think that way. A lot of people think that way. But let's take it back, and let's figure out how to manage those.
Exactly. Like, my thing is, you kind of have to be friends with those thoughts, even those thoughts that you don't even want to think about, that you're like, why am I thinking these thoughts?
Yeah.
But just identifying that you have those thoughts can make it easier for you to exclude them and focus on the thoughts that you need to be focusing on to perform at your best, or just to be happy in life, stuff like that.
Yeah, really managing them, right? And it's so, like, part of what I do is teaching athletes, okay, this is a thought that's coming up, identifying it, and hey, like, it's not quite helpful, it's not, but it's there. And we're just gonna, if we don't want to use it, we're just gonna kind of let it be there. Or if it goes away, great. But sometimes it doesn't. We're just gonna let it be there, and we're gonna shift our focus away from that, rather than getting so caught up and tangled up in it. Let's just, okay, it's there. It's gonna be there. It's a thought that comes up a lot. Like, let's just let it be there, and we're gonna shift our focus to now and what really matters to you in this moment, right? Who you want to represent. What do you stuff like that.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And so mental performance consultants and sports psychologists and all that, I feel like we all have a backstory. Like, that's why we are doing what we're doing.
Yes.
But I feel like that makes us all more reliable, because we understand. We know how all these things feel. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when I used to play basketball in high school, like in practices, stuff like that, there's times where I'd have a whole anxiety attack.
Yeah.
But didn't even know what was going on. It was just like, my breathing would start picking up, things would get foggy, all this. Like,
that's just scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
Like, I really didn't know what was going on. Like, I thought I was dying or something. Like, yeah. But stuff like that, like, all the athletes out there, I know how you guys feel. Like, I can relate, and I know you can relate as well.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, right, like, when we're having, like you said, it's scary. You don't know what's going on, and you feel like you're going to die. And so to have someone come in and talk to you about that, like, before I play, or like while I'm playing, like, this thing will happen, and I don't know what's going on, and it's so scary. And that's because we don't really talk about those things, like, ever.
Yeah.
And then they come up, and it's like, I can't talk about this to anybody, but, like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's really freaky. So to have someone come in and talk through that and recognize, like, hey, this is actually a normal reaction, right? When our mind perceives a threat, it sucks. It really sucks, and it does not feel great at all. But it's okay. It's your body's doing what it's supposed to be doing, even though we don't want that to be happening, right? And so, to your point, like, I've experienced that too, where I'm like, ooh, short of breath, feel really dizzy, like, I want to pass out, and I'm like, oh no, what's going on? But, as I've learned through all my education, okay, this is something normal and I can get through this. Like, it's only temporary. Like, it's going to suck for 10 minutes, maybe longer, maybe 2 minutes, but I can get through this and I can manage this and it's going to be all good.
Yeah.
You know, I can still execute the way that I want to.
Yeah.
It's just learning how and practicing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk a little bit about your business that you've started recently.
Yeah.
So how has that been for you?
So it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I graduated in 2020, and I was really the industry's growing, right? Job wise, there's only so many things you can apply to. A lot of internships. I mean, it's like other jobs. You need so much experience. And so I applied to what I could. Army is like a very big employer for master's students that have just graduated, or not students, but someone that has just earned their master's degree. So I applied with them. I applied to a few like internships, and again, that was like right when COVID happened. So it was like, not much traction. It's like, you know what? I'm just gonna start my business. Let's see how this goes. And I did not know what I was doing. I was just figuring it out as I go. I still do that business-wise, like sales, marketing, promoting. That is a different beast in itself, and it's a lot of different hats to wear. And so, in the time that I've worked, I would say that I've learned so much in the business side of things. The consulting I have as well, and I've took actually extra courses and done some CEs just to continue my education in that, and also just gaining experience with athletes is learning in itself, right? We're just we are perfecting our craft, right? I don't like perfection, but you know what I'm saying, right?
I've been reading this book called Mindful Athlete.
Yes.
Have you read that?
I have not.
Oh, it's a great book. It's a great book.
Okay.
But they were saying, like most of the time, you're not going to get to perfection.
No.
But if you strive for perfection, you'll get pretty damn close.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's a good point. Right, and that's I guess where I was going with perfecting my craft. Like, I'm striving obviously to do my best. So anyway, so I've been learning, and it's tough because going back to your question earlier, what is a mental performance coach? What's the difference between a mental performance coach and a counselor and a psychologist and a psychiatrist? And so a lot of that is muffled or like jumbled within people that don't necessarily know the industry, right, but are looking for help. Sometimes athletes don't want the help even though they need it, right? And so I feel like that has been, and along with my lack of education, you could say, in marketing and sales, right? That bridge, I feel like I've done a lot better, but I would say that was my most difficult part, because it's not like I'm a nutritionist or a physical therapist where you know what you're gonna get.
Exactly.
Right, and you need it.
I mean, athletes definitely need.
I agree.
A mental coach.
I'm on the same page as you, but some people don't. They're still. The stigma is better, but the stigma is still there.
That's why we're here to talk about these things and erase that stigma. Because there's no need for the stigma. These are all things to help you be a better athlete, help you be a better person, help you just be happier in life. All those things. So why would you shy away from it? That doesn't really make sense.
Right. And it's so tough too, because I get some athletes the first time they sit down. I mean, anything new, it's kind of like, what, I don't know what to expect. Exactly. And our brains don't like that. Yeah. We like control, and we do not like uncertainty. And so coming in and actually trying it out, and I don't really know what to expect, that's scary. On top of, like, I'm seeing someone for my brain, and that's like also not considered great. But at the end of the day, like you said, it is. Like, the best of the best do that, right? I was watching the U.S. Open tennis. I feel like every time I was watching a match, the announcer was saying one of the players or both of the players have some sort of mental performance coach or sports psychologist that they're working with. Same with like NBA, more players like Kobe and LeBron with the meditation, stuff like that. All these athletes are using it.
That's the main reason why Kobe was the person he was.
Yes.
The whole Mamba mentality was just pretty much meditation and staying in the moment and giving it your all no matter what. And he also had a sports psychologist, a sports or a mental coach that helped him out throughout his whole journey.
Yeah.
And people don't even notice that.
Right. And so what's cool now is that more people are talking about it. More people, especially those professional athletes, more and more are talking about it, even like advocating for the mental health side, like Simone Biles.
Yep.
Right? Where she was I mean, that was very courageous. And a lot of people, like, gymnastics is an insane sport. Like, it is wild what they do, and if you're off just a little bit, like, you could really hurt yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, you know, for her to take that stance, again, courageous, and
Exactly.
she's advocating for all those other athletes, whether they be professional or not.
Mm-hmm.
When you need a break, you need a break.
Yep.
Like, when you need to figure that out, you need to figure that out. It's just like if you have a broken ankle or a torn ACL.
Mm-hmm.
And so I going back to the business side of things, right? That's been the hardest part is, you know, learning more about the sales side and the marketing side while also, like, educating the population, you know, the sports population of, like, what this actually is and, like, why you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And why it's so great and so helpful. And so, you know, ultimately my goal is to work with as many athletes as I can. But then the consulting side of things, the athletes that I have been in front of, that I have worked with, has been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's so cool to be doing what I love, you know?
No, I can see it in your face. I can see it in your expression. Like, I can tell.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about it. Like I said, it's my calling. And so, you know, when I'm working with the athletes, and even when they have those breakthrough moments, or, you know, they're going through a time where it's really tough, but we're getting through it together, I'm a resource for them to help them. Or even if they're just like, I just want to learn.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to be the best that I can be, and please just teach me things so where I can apply it, and, like, if I do hit a challenge, like, I'm going to be ready.
Yep.
Right? And, like, I'm going to keep going up. And so the consulting side of stuff, I absolutely love that. I love it. And it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's been slow, but it's been growing, and it's been a lot of fun.
Aside, like the actual business side and sales side, what has been, like, the biggest problem? Well, not the biggest problem, but kind of the hardest part of being a mental performance consultant, like dealing with the athletes, maybe like their ego, or maybe them not wanting to open up at first, stuff like that.
That's a really good question. Like, as far as the work that I'm doing with the athletes, what has been most challenging?
Yes.
I would say the patience. Patience.
Your patients or their patients?
Their patience.
Okay.
Right? Because we want things, and we want it now, especially if we recognize, like, the concern that we have in that moment, especially if our performance isn't what we want it to be right now, and we know we could be better. Patience, because that's another, like, myth. I actually posted that the other day. It's like, I'm just gonna go see a mental performance coach a couple times, and, like, good as new. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Yeah. Especially depending on, like, what's going on, right? And so I would say that's the biggest challenge is helping athletes to understand that this is going to take time depending on where you're at, right? Like, this isn't a quick fix.
Yeah.
And to expect, I mean, like, even, you know, I have a package that's like a 2-month package, and that's normally where I'm meeting with athletes once a week for 8 weeks for an hour. Okay. And the reason why I have that package and why I want to meet for 8 weeks consistently for an hour a week is because that's where I've found the most success with athletes. Like, after those 2 months, they've, like, made a good bit of progress where it's recognizable on their end. Yeah. And so, you know, it's tough though, because some athletes will come in and it's like we've met, or even parents, like, we've met for 2 sessions and they're like, okay, what's going on? How's the progress? And it's like, we've only met for 2 hours. Yeah. You know, like, what are you doing? Are they doing the stuff that I give them outside of session? They say they are. Maybe they are admitting that they don't. But even if they are, they aren't. Like, it still takes time. And so when that happens, it's important to validate, like, the want, the desire. Like, you want this so bad, and you're working so hard at it, and that's so important. And it's also, hey, let me put this in perspective for you. How long have you been playing your sport? 20 years, all my life, right? Because I started when I was 3 or 4. That's usually the answer. And it's like, okay, you've been working that long and perfecting your craft that long, and how long have you been working on the mental side? 2 weeks, a month. You know, you're not going to be where you're at physically, but mentally, right? Because you haven't been practicing that long. And so let's just take it back. I understand it's frustrating, but we gotta keep working. So
and taste that practice and those little steps. Like you said with anything, if you played your sport for 20 years, I mean, obviously you're gonna be better at that than the mental side. Right. But you work on that mental side for years and years, as like Kobe and all these athletes do. When they're professional, as soon as they start, most of them are working with mental performance coaches and doing that all across their career, just so they can get better and better and better.
Right, and keep improving. And just to go to my side of things, right, like going back to my business, like I'm at fault to that too. Like I remember when I was first thinking about starting, right, I was like, all right, I'm gonna reach out to some people. So I had one peer of mine that was a year older than me in my graduate program, and she had like started her own practice in Georgia probably like a few months before I was thinking about starting mine. So I reached out to her. I also like reached out to CMPCs in the area. In my area there was like a couple, and one happened to be the mentor of my professor when I was getting my master's degree. So I was like, wow. Perfect, like he'll be willing to talk to me, because he was working with a professional like baseball team, I'm pretty sure. And so he actually got on the phone with me, and I was asking him questions, just trying to get his insights, and because he also had his own practice as well. And he said, if you're looking to do this full time, I would suggest having something on the side for at least like a year or two, because this isn't going to be a full-time job, and you're not going to be making enough like 4 to 5 years is like where it would be normal for you to actually like have a practice where you'd be working full time. And I was like, what?
You want it now?
Yes, I wanted it now. I was like, no way. And even now, like 6 months in, I was like, what? Like I'm only seeing like 4 people. Like what's going on? And at the time, I was a nanny. I was babysitting like 3.5 days a week, and then I was consulting like 3 days a week, when I could, and working on my business when I could. And so, I've gotten to a point where I didn't have to nanny anymore, like the last year, which has been really maybe a little bit longer than that, which is awesome. But like, I keep having to remind myself of that conversation of like, he told me 5 years, and I'm only at what year am I at? I think I'm going into year 3.
Look, that time flew by. You didn't even notice.
Right. It flew by. It didn't flew by in the moment though. But like, it's taking so much time, and it's a slow process. And I have to humble myself in those moments where I'm like, I just want this now. Like, I want to be, I want it to be bigger than it is. And so I fall into that too. But I think that's just, again, that just goes back to who we are as people, our society, our culture, right? Everything that we have is now. You order something off Amazon, you get it that day or the next day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Likes, likes on Instagram, likes on Twitter, like everything is so instant gratification.
That dopamine. Everybody just wants that dopamine.
Yes, everybody. And so when we're not getting that, it's hard. Yeah. It's really hard. So I would say that's the biggest challenge, is just helping my clients and people that come to see me to understand that this is a process, and it takes time, and we definitely revisit that as we continue working together, and I have to revisit that myself as well with the things that I do.
It's relevant in everything that you do.
Everything. Like I said, like what our culture, what do we have? have is not represent the reality of what life is.
Exactly.
Things take time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's why I wanted to start the Life Play so early. As you
Yes.
see, I'm only a sophomore in college, but I already have the podcast. I'm posting frequently on Instagram, and I want to get consultants on my staff as soon as possible, if I can. I don't know if I can right now. Like, I don't know if I need any credentials. I don't know if you have any information on that.
Yeah.
But do you know if I could get consultants on my staff, like, while not having credentials myself?
And so that's something interesting that you bring up. And I think it would be, that would be interesting. That would be a longer conversation, I think, because depending on what you want to do.
Okay.
So, like, when you originally reached out to me, I thought that idea was great. It was just tough because I was already working out at, I told you I was working out at 2 gyms. But I think depending on what your vision is, you could do that, right? You could probably do that. I think it would be tough, but it would also be something that you can think about, just depending on what direction you're wanting to go in.
Yeah. So I want to have mental performance consultants on my staff as soon as possible. Plus, like in the later future, I want to have like regular consultants, maybe like clinical consultants and family therapists, group therapy. I want to have everything.
You want to have it all.
Exactly. But I want to start with that sports psychology. Like that's the main part right there.
Yeah.
And then obviously I'll have my credentials when I graduate and all that. So I'll be practicing myself. I'll be in there having clients and stuff. But I just want to, like you said, I want to get the ball moving.
Yeah. Well, when you told me, because I didn't realize, when you had originally reached out, I didn't know that you were a sophomore and going to FIU. And when we were on the phone, you told me, I was like, what? Like, you already are starting this? Like, that in itself is already like a huge step that I didn't even have, and so when you as you continue on, whatever you end up doing, like, this is just going to set you up for success, right? 'Cause depending on if you do go to grad school or you do go get your PhD or whatever you decide to do, like, that's going to be huge for you because you're already going to have this background in the business side of things. You're already going to have a following. You're going to have a community on your side. So again, I think going back to, and a year from now or 2 years from now, depending on how big your following is and what they're asking for, then you probably could have a couple people on staff, few people on staff, and if your community is wanting people to work with, then you probably could do that. And so, that's what I would say. But it was impressive. I am very impressed by your ambition, and drive. So,
I appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure.
But I appreciate you speaking on this podcast and helping me because I'm learning from you. Yeah. Because you've already gone through the steps and you're at a place where I want to be. Yeah. So me just learning from you is the best thing that I can ask for, to be honest.
Oh, thank you. And I'm happy to be here. I'm always happy to help because, like you said, we have the same passion and we want to help people. And this field is so important to me that I'm willing to help as many people as I can. Exactly. And so, I'm here. I'm here whenever you need me. Just let me know. Yeah.
So I'll end it off like this. If you could give one piece of advice to athletes who are struggling with the mental side of sports, what would you give them?
I would say that you're human. That's like, you're human first, person first. And you are who you are. So, like, you are Tyler. And that's who you are. And what you're experiencing may suck right now. And if you're willing, go seek someone. But you are human, and we all have our struggles. All of us.
Yeah, I love that. So, if they want to find your business, where can they find you?
So I would say Instagram. I'm very much on there. At Coach Nicole _E. At Coach Nicole _E. Yep.
All right. Everybody go to our Instagram and stay tuned for the clips and the next episodes. Thank you for joining the Life Play Podcast.